What's up, guys? This is Anthony once again, and I'm back again with another great video. This time is how to become a great data analyst. And I'm looking specifically at the 7 skills you need to become a great data analyst. And we're talking about why these skills are so important. Okay, now if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. As you can tell, like I promised you, I'm going to be coming here with great content, lots of insights, lots of explanation, and lots of great content, right? So subscribe, and let's hear some of your thoughts as well. Share some things with us in the comment section, and I will be responding to you all. So let's just get straight into it. How to become a great data analyst, 7 skills that you need, and why. Okay, Okay, first thing is this. Now, organizations operate in what we call a marketplace, right? In the marketplace, you have different companies that have the responsibility of providing different services and goods and products, et cetera, et cetera. They will be competing with competitors. They have legislative, regulatory bodies or industry standards that they need to probably follow. And they most importantly are going to be addressing the needs and the desires of customers. Now, the process of having all of these sort of interactions and whatnot leads to the creation of something critically called data, right? Data is a result of all this interaction, right? All of these activities. If these activities are monitored and they are tracked and sort of you have oversight of them, we're able to gain valuable data, raw data that can ultimately lead to insights to help organizations make decisions. But this data in its raw form is quite honestly useless, right? It's just raw facts. For example, if you say 5,000 and then you say marketing budget. Now, if I know that the marketing budget is 5 grand, even that information is still now moved from data to information because I've pieced it together. But the point is, if it's just 5 grand and then marketing budget, that's just it. That's just data. That's a fact. I know. Okay, great. And then what? Right? But this data has to naturally, be structured, be organized, be sort of related together, right? For us to arrive at some type of information about the marketing expenditure, that was sort of undertaken by the marketing team. And then if we sort of get to know the whys and the hows and do some analysis on the data, begin to sort of dissect it in its details and get the sort of the fundamentals behind setting decisions, as it were, we now have what we call knowledge. But this knowledge is not enough, right? If I know that the marketing budget, for example, was 5 grand, and at the end of the day, the reason why it went up compared to the previous month is because we maybe started a new ad campaign on Facebook or whatever it is. That's still not insight. That's still not, you know, information or knowledge that helps me to make wise decisions about the future or about my current state. I've got to draw insights from it, right? And this is where wisdom comes into play. And the insight now provides me with the basis to make the right judgments, the right calls, make the right decisions at the right time, position myself in the right way, and use experience and sort of do the right things at the right time. So this is the process that data sort of flows from. And this is why data flows from, sorry, to. And this is why data analysis is a very critical skill set, as it were, for most organizations, right? The advent of artificial intelligence is naturally going to make a lot of the repetitive tasks here to be, automated to some degree. And so we need to have that final edge, as it were, of great data analysis. That even though the repetitive task is automated, you still need somebody that helps you to draw the insights, as it were, from the knowledge and draw the right insights so that companies can make the right decisions. So this is a very good diagram that sort of helps. Now let's sort of take it a step further and understand what we're really saying in detail. And this is the DIKW pyramid. It's the data, information, knowledge, and wisdom pyramid. It's very well known. And so at the data level, which is at this level, it's just simply descriptive or objective facts. Like I said to you, we'll look at an example in a minute, but it's just 5,000 or marketing budget. that doesn't mean anything. It's just individual parts, right? But when you start connecting these parts together in a structured format, you use your Excels to sort of have your columns and your rows, as it were, you're now building an information. You're connecting the parts. Okay, the marketing budget for March is 5 grand, right? A set of data that has been related to each other through context to become useful. Now, the information has some use. Will it help you to make some decisions as far as the insights you need for whether or not you continue with your marketing spend? I don't think so, but at least you know that your marketing spend for March was 5 grand. Okay, so we know the what, we probably will know the why, not the why, sorry. We will know the how, not how, I'm going ahead of myself. We know the what, we know the who, right? We probably will know the when or the where, right? At the information level. But we don't know the how and we don't know the why certain decisions are happening the way they are or certain occurrences are happening. That happens at the knowledge level. And this is where the analysis part to try and draw insights from the information happens. And the goal is to really derive the how or the why certain things are happening. But don't forget something very important here. We're still on the data. We're still on the information that is present in front of us. We have not translated this knowledge, as it were, to the organizational context, to the institutional context, to the problem or the desires of the organization or the objectives of the organization. It's still knowledge about the data. Okay, the marketing budget increased by XYZ because of a particular spend or because of this or that. That's still within the data sets. The goal is to arrive at wisdom. And this is where great data analysis is all about. Your ability to move through these stages and eventually arrive at the sort of the utilization of the accumulated knowledge in a timely fashion to make the right decisions at the right time, to help the C-suite or the managers or the board to make critical decisions that helps them save money, makes more money, helps improve operational excellence, helps improve productivity, whatever it is, your ability to take this data and transform it into information and derive the knowledge and then now derive the necessary insights that helps to utilize this information is the critical little bit, right, that separates the good from the great. Okay, so let's look at something more in detail in terms of an example here, right? So this is assuming you work as a data analyst, you've been given the profitability versus marketing spend with of the marketing department. You kind of know, how much was spent in January, Feb. Now you've been given information about, March, right? So if you look at just data here, it's simply the 5 grand March marketing spend. This is the individual parts. Information is now we know that the marketing spend increased by 5 grand in a month of March as compared to Jan and Feb, etc., etc. What about knowledge? Well, we want to know how and why. The increase in marketing spend was due to a new ad campaign that was launched. Right? Now we know it. But this information or this data information and knowledge, as it were, like I said, is within the data sets. It's on the data set. It's our understanding of the data sets. Our ability to now translate this information to evaluate the ROI and to decide whether or not this marketing campaign should be stopped, should we reallocate budgets to different things, do we stop the sales? Our ability to translate this knowledge into insights that help us to know how and what decisions are best to make at this particular time is the goal of data analysis. That's the basis as to why organizations employ data analysts. So if you just limit yourself here on the tools and the technologies, and you should know how to do them, but if you just limit yourself here on that alone, and your ability to put things together, collect the data, clean the data, exploit the data, analyze the data, you're going to be a good data analyst. But a great data analyst now helps to translate all of this knowledge into insights necessary to help the organization to make the right decisions at the right time. So before we talk about the skills, let's just go back a bit and talk about the processes, right, that a data analyst will follow. And typically, you start with ask, right? there is either a problem or there is an objective that an organization wants to sort of meet or a desire that they want to achieve. And based on that, you would now start to gather the raw data, right? The raw numbers and the facts from different places. You probably would have it in one Excel sheet somewhere, or you have to now gather it and create your rows, as it were, from scratch. We probably don't have that element, in most organizations, because a lot of the data is already sort of stored in different databases and APIs and Excel sheets and storage centers, et cetera, et cetera. So you probably just make you wouldn't have that responsibility of gathering the raw data, but you still have some element of maybe improving the data or adding to it. Once you're done, you move to data cleaning, right? And this is where you're removing duplicates, you handle missing values, you'll need to format things, format the numbers, format the right currencies, dates, etc., etc. You understand that the quality of your data is critical in helping you arriving at the right decision, sorry. And once the cleaning exercise is done, you begin to now look for patterns, right? Identify patterns or trends, or you're exploring the data to really just sort of find the initial sort of relationships and trends and patterns and just sort of general data analysis or the early stages of analysis. And because that leads to the next stage, which is your analysis and modeling stage. And the analysis here is now, either you're doing some type of descriptive analysis, and we'll look at it in a second, or prescriptive or predictive or diagnostic analysis, right? And you're using statistical models, or if you're a little bit advanced, machine learning tools, right, to find relationships and to sort of look at how best to disintegrate the data and to cohesively put together a relationship with all the data sets, right? And then you create your models in terms of your charts and your different modeling techniques, et cetera, et cetera. And that is supposed to now help you to arrive at the output, which is the insights that you ultimately now provide to the organization. Now, this exercise is what we have now looked at the beginning, and we said you take data, from data to information, from information to knowledge, and then eventually to insights or wisdom. And a data analyst has to understand this process. More critically, they need to know how to analyze the data. And the analysis part, I talked about it briefly, is the descriptive part. You can do some descriptive analysis, what happened, right? The data will tell you give you an idea or a general idea of what happened, right, to your organization at a particular time. Diagnostic, you're now getting to the core, why it happened, right? And then predictive, what would happen based on the past, right? And based on the current context and sort of some type of metrics that you put, as it were. And then prescriptive, what should you do because of, what how can we make things happen? And what's the prescribed solution? What's the best alternative or the best decision to make at this particular time? So a data analyst understands this, and a data analyst also understands the process. Now, let's now go specifically into the skills that you need. All right? Okay. 7 skills you need and why. Now, if we know that fundamentally your goal is to help an organization make the right decisions, and you're going to take data to insights, then there are fundamental skills that you need to have, right? And that's what I want to talk about now. The first one is critical thinking. Yes, the first one is contextual thinking, not critical. We'll talk about that in a second. But contextual thinking. Listen, it's important for you to have the high level context about the data and the sort of the level of detail about the data. But beyond your data is also the context in which that data or the information or the knowledge is being utilized. The organizational context, the problem context, the desired context. You need to have contextual thinking because words have meaning in context. So your ability to identify patterns and relationships in complex data sets, your ability to understand why findings matter in specific solutions, right? Your ability to situate data in the broader business and research context is so fundamental. Because you need to be able to now take that data set, that knowledge that you have, and then translate it into something meaningful in terms of insights that ultimately will drive the decisions or the understanding of your leadership. And why does this matter? You can see it because the ability to see beyond raw data, raw numbers, sorry, and understand data in context separates great analysts from mere data processors. If all you do is just to process the data without arriving at specific conclusions or specific judgments or specific insights, right timely insights, you're just a data processor. I mean, you're as good as is necessary, but you're not a great data analyst. Great data analysts understand that we need to take data and translate it into insights, and the insight has to be useful within the context that they find themselves. So the first thing is contextual thinking. Second thing is business acumen. And this is so fundamental. You hear a lot of people talk about data analysis, but really fail to understand that ultimately the work that you're doing is supposed to either help a business make money, save money, or improve their operations, improve productivity, improve effectiveness, efficiency. It's all about business being able to do the work of business. Right? So understand strategy, business goals, business operations, marketing department, sales, finance, operating in the market, on a market space and dealing with suppliers and how that all works together, cost, operating profit and EBITDA and this and that. All that thing is necessary because it helps you to align the analysis work with business strategy. It helps you identify and track your key business metrics. And then you're able to convert data insights into actionable business recommendations. So business acumen is so fundamental. You need business acumen if you're going to become a great data analyst. Why does this matter? Well, because data analysis or data analysis without business context lacks impact. Your work doesn't direct to any specific need within the operational organizational context or the business context. So it doesn't really, it's not felt. Your job can easily be replaced by some type of AI or another person. Strong business acumen ensures analysts focus on questions that matter to the organization and delivers insights that drive meaningful business outcomes. Very important. If your work translates to helping directors of the organization to make decisions that affect profitability, that affect revenue, that affect cost, that affect operational excellence, that improve their brand awareness, that improve their brand visibility, that improve their business overall, you are a very necessary candidate in the organization. So business acumen, you need to understand business. What is business? Why is business done? How is business done? Number three, communication skills. And this is not more than just your ability to talk or do a presentation, even though that's very important. But here you're talking about your understanding of the audience that you're speaking to and tailoring the right kind of designs and imagery and words and tone and creating clear and impactful data visualizations. When you're using your Tableaus and your Power BI, the structure that you follow, the way you input data and the kind of models and the kind of charts and all these things that you use has direct connection with your understanding of communication, the art of storytelling, and your ability to engage stakeholders because you understand what kind of thing they want to see. You understand their problems and their pain and the kind of focuses and priorities that they have in such a way that you choose the right structure and the right imagery and the right models and charts and formats that ultimately gets their attention. You are translating complex technical findings for non-technical audience. And why does this matter? Well, even the most brilliant analysts or analysis is worthless if it cannot be understood, right? And this is so important. One of the things that I pride myself in is I always know that if I'm communicating, that my words have to have a meaning in the mind of the audience or the recipient. And that meaning has to be directly correlated to the meaning in my head. If I say red and you see something else other than red, I have not communicated because words have meaning in context. I can say, this is red in this context, and then say read again in a completely different context, and it will mean completely different things, right? So it matters that you focus more about being understood and being than being just heard. And that is a skill you develop to become a great communicator and therefore become a great data analyst. Then, of course, this is probably one of the major skills that everybody knows, right? Technical skills, your tech stack, and understanding how to use Excels and the different spreadsheets out there, and all the various different kinds of databases, and Python, SQL, data visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, R, and then ETL processes, extract, transform, load processes, basic data engineering concept, and potential if you're dealing with large data sets, AWS, Azure, and all the various myriads of terminologies around that and that environment, right? A technical stack is necessary. Knowing how to use these tools, knowing how to gather data, how to communicate, and then even tools such as your presentation tools, your PPT, PowerPoint, Word, I've mentioned Excel, Google Sheets, and all the various AI tools out there, right, to help you, your Claude, your Gemini, your chat boxes, right? You have your cursors, you have so many different tools out there today. You need to master them. You need to know them, because it's one thing to have a brilliant idea of what it is that you need to communicate. Is another thing to be technically proficient to actually bring it into reality. So the technical skills is still very important. But I always say, don't lose sight of the fact that there is a rationale to learning the technical skill. Some people just become proficient at the technical prowess, developing their technical prowess, as it were, but fail to realize that the ultimate goal is to provide wisdom or insight about the data or of the data or by the data so that the organization can make decisions. Why does this matter? Well, technical skills form the foundation, right, that enables other analytical capabilities. Mastery of these tools allows analysts to efficiently collect, transform, and analyze data at scale. And that's very clear. Analysis skills, your ability to think critically, critical thinking, structured problem solving, right? You're looking at the data and you're asking yourself, is this the right data? Does it solve my problems? Does it have the right input and information that is necessary for me to address the ask, that I started with from the onset? Do you have the statistical and mathematical understanding to be able to carry out the necessary statistics, your hypothesis testing exercise and your testing methodologies, right? Do you understand just descriptive analysis that we all use on a day-to-day basis? Average, means, median, mode, outliers, all this stuff. Critical thinking, statistic, maths, data quality assessment and validation techniques. Why is this important? Because your ability to analyze the data helps you to carry out your descriptive analysis, your predictive, your diagnostic, and then your prescriptive. And your ability to now take that knowledge and translate it into insights is hinged on your analytical or your critical thinking skill sets. Why does this matter? Well, analytical skills ensure conclusions are sound. Remember, you're making judgments, you're making recommendations or conclusions about data. And so your ability to analyze the data correctly helps ensure that your conclusions are sound. You can defend them because you know what was put in there and why certain decisions were made. This methodical approach enables analysts to extract valid insights from data while avoiding common analytical pitfalls and biases. It's very clear. So analysis is important. And number 6, domain knowledge. Now, a lot of the times you find that people sort of, confuse domain knowledge with business acumen. I've already talked about business acumen as your understanding of the business or the organizational context. Domain here has to do with industry-specific relevant knowledge that has to do with the domain that you work in. If you are in the tech world, there's generally a fundamental understanding that IT professionals must have. if you are in oil and gas, if you are in the construction world, if you are in the NHS or the medical field or the biology field, there are fundamental industry-specific knowledge and understanding of these specialized technologies and concepts helps you both with your contextual thinking, helps you with your analytical thinking, helps you with, being able to draw the right insights, because you could have generalized opinions and understanding of the context that you find yourself in, and not because you lack the domain expertise, you will not be able to provide the right decisions at the right time. So domain expertise helps you to be able to have an awareness of the market dynamics and the competitive factors. You have knowledge of the relevant regulatory environment and constraints. If you make decisions that don't take in consideration the regulatory requirements, it cannot be making the right decisions at the right time. Do you understand? So understanding the regulatory requirements, the industry's best standards, practices, whatever, is critical in helping you to ultimately arrive at the wisdom. Why does this matter? Well, domain expertise provides critical context for interpreting the data. Crucial, context for interpreting the data. And this domain expertise is so fundamental in your ability to contextually analyze data and provide the right solutions. It helps analysts ask the right questions, focus on relevant variables, and understand the practical implications of their findings in a specific industry or field. All right? And the final point, the final skill you need is continuous learning. I almost didn't add this to it, but I think it's a fundamental skill. It's a skill. It's an understanding, it's also a skill. Well, all the things that I've talked about, there's a requirement for you to continuously sharpen the saw, as it were, right? Staying current with evolving data analysis tools and technologies, developing more sort of knowledge about emerging analysis or analytical methods, right? We have artificial intelligence in the marketplace. We are gradually sort of embracing a new sort of, it's not new, it's been there for a long time, but data science, data engineering, these are new roles that are coming into the world, the mainstream, as it were, and they are gradually focusing more on prescriptive and predictive analysis. Do you have an understanding of all the tools and understanding of how you can bring that into the work that you do? Because they have large language models have direct implication on how you do your data analysis. And you've got to be ready to adapt to the changing business requirements and the data sources, right? The more and more we move into the cloud and store our data in the cloud, even WordPresses are now in the cloud, right? If you want to get that data, you need to know how to operate in the cloud, right? Whether it's AWS, Azure, or GCP, doesn't really matter. Building cross-disciplinary knowledge and perspective. So continuous learning is critical if you're going to be a great data analyst. And why does this matter? Well, the field of data analytics or analysis is constantly evolving with new technologies and methodologies and best practices emerging regularly. Data analysts who commit to lifelong learning remain effective and relevant through their careers. Throughout their careers, they're able to tackle increasingly complex challenges and deliver greater value to their organization. So these are the 7 skills that you need to have if you're going to be a great data analyst. And if you're going to keep your job, I think you need to have an understanding of these things. Data analysis is more than the technical or tech stack that we all know about. There's a lot more that helps you to become a great data analyst. I hope this helps you guys. Thank you very much. All the best. Bye-bye.